The Blokebusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network. You can find us, as well as other fine shows such as That's Delightful, The Ectoplasm Show, and the Jean-Pod Van Damme Cast over at podbros.com. Now get ready to sit back and enjoy another episode of the Blokebusters podcast.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Who's gone off? Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
And this is?
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Houston, we have a problem.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Now, where was I?
Welcome to episode 80D of the Blokebusters podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Paul.
And today, joining us, as you might have guessed, if we are talking about Black Mirror, it is pop culture curator, friend of the pod, and honorary Blokebuster, Kealeen Griffin.
Hey guys, thanks for hanging in with me.
Always our pleasure.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah. Yes, you are essential for these episodes. Of course. Well, Paul, before we get into all of that good stuff, where can people find us online?
Well, let's see. You can visit us on Twitter at Blokebusters, Instagram at Blokebusters, Facebook.com/Blokebusters. You can email us blokebusterpodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to blokebusters.webs.com or podbros.com and look for Blokebusters. Those are our web presences as of right now. I don't know if any more will pop up, but that's what we got.
Sounds great. I think that's enough.
All right.
And Kealeen, would you like to let people know where they can find you? I know we'll probably do it at the end, but
you can find me on Twitter. I am at Kealeen, KELTOLEAN. You can also find me. We're coming back soon on Soiled Restroom Cinema podcast.
It's a very awesome podcast that you should be listening to if you're not already.
Yes, you have a little bit of time to get caught up on that. So go now.
And timeless episodes. You can go listen to any of them. Yeah, they're still great. All right, so
that's a charitable way to put it.
Okay. All right. So last time we left off, when we were getting a little too long into the evening, we were discussing Crocodile, which I think we don't need to say any more on that one.
Yep, we pretty much covered that.
Yeah, I think we covered that one there.
Let the past die, literally.
Please. Yeah. So that brings us to episode 4 of season 4, which is Hang the DJ.
Yes,
now,
Hang the DJ.
Yes. So, yes. Not really sure what the title was referring to until, of course, the very end.
But it's stupid.
It's okay. So, anywho, this episode is somewhat trying to kind of regain some of that San Junipero magic of season 3. And with the maybe not as dark and awful tech, but essentially it's just this dating program that pairs you up, and each relationship has an expiration date. You don't know how long that's going to be unless both parties choose to look at this expiration date. And we have Frank and Amy as our protagonists, and they soon begin to question if there's a greater meaning to the system's logic or what is actually going on in this universe.
And again, it adds to the season's theme of choice and what constitutes free will, and
what role we're allowing technology to play. Right.
And what technology does to our own personhood.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess good place to start is general feelings. I think it might have been off mic when we talked about this, but I know Paul. I guess let's start off with you here. What did you think of Hang the DJ?
What did I think of Hang the DJ? Well, I feel like I was getting a bit of a consensus as to where you guys land on this, but I really enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed the whole thing of something not quite right, but you're not actually focusing on that too much, because I thought that the two main characters, Amy and Frank, were so well together that it was just fun to see them interacting with each other and where that was going. And we'll get to the ending as well, but I do think that despite this being an overall positive episode, there is a little bit of sort of pessimistic or downer way you could view the ending that popped into my head
absolutely.
the second I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, it's obviously with Black Mirror, no episode is going to be completely positive. But, and I agree, I was so engrossed in the two leads' chemistry, Amy and Frank, that I was more concerned about how and if they would find their way back to each other than to notice, at least on first viewing, like, you know, what something's not right. It was like I knew something wasn't right about this world they were living in, because I did wonder, do they have jobs? Why do they just live in a house? But I didn't know if that was like some weird dystopian future or what was going on. But I was so concerned about whether they would find their way back to each other to worry about that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I was very much in the same way. This is one of those episodes that I initially loved. I still really like the episode, but it's one of those, I think I've seen it 3 times now. The luster wears off quickly for me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, yeah, another San Junipero. No, it is not. I want to make that clear. Otherwise known as at least one of the top 2 best episodes of Black Mirror. We can put it that way. But anyway, yeah, I was also captivated by the chemistry between Amy and Frank, and it just I don't know, it's a testament to these actors' abilities and like the writing. It just seems so effortlessly charming, and yeah, I was also taken with that and not focusing on probably things I should have been focusing on subsequent viewings. But overall, I mean, I still really enjoy this episode. It's probably second or third favorite out of the 6 here.
All right.
Well, and it was also it was directed by Tim Van Patten.
TVP, yes.
Yes, who directed the he directed a lot of Sopranos episodes, but he also directed the very first episode of Game of Thrones.
Was it first 2? Or just
well, yeah, but I mean, like...
I'd say, yeah, the pilot, yeah. That pilot is, like,
the pilot
greatest
of Game of
pilot
Thrones,
ever. Yeah.
And also the son of Dick Van Patten.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you are my mom's age and listening to this.
Yeah. And the wonderful miniseries, The Pacific, too, which, if you're into war miniseries... Well,
it was basically
awesome.
the counterpart to Band of Brothers.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But basically this also can be described as Black Mirror's version of Tinder. And you have this thing that actually looks a lot like a version of like the Amazon Alexa. I got my mom an Echo. I got my mom an Echo Spot, I think it's called. And it looks like a handheld. What they're using in Hang the DJ looks a lot like an Echo Spot.
Yeah. Or another thing I think of is like the smart thermometer or like thermostats.
Yeah.
The Nest stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the Nest. Yeah, those kind of, reminds me a lot of that stuff too. Yeah.
Well, and again, it brings back to, I think everybody has some sort of implant in them to gauge things.
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah. They obviously don't seem to have it in this episode, but as we'll get to it, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. So.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, and also, I thought it was interesting that, okay, they meet in the same restaurant whenever they find, like, it's called, like, the system?
Yeah, that's all we ever get, right? You must trust the system.
You're supposed to meet your date in this one restaurant and order, or it orders for you, doesn't it?
It knows what you would order, so by the time you sit down, it's coming to your table.
Yeah, because Amy goes like, "Oh, I guess I'm a pasta girl,"
Yes. She is a pasta girl. Yep.
Yeah.
And
it is about that pasta.
Well, and it you're expected to decide at the same time, like to look at your system to see how long you're supposed to be together.
Yeah, because that's supposedly the only way. Yeah, that's the only way it can work. Right?
The weird thing is, no matter how long you're considered to be together, you're expected to go to this house and either have sex or just hold hands, like Frank and Amy did the first, and go from there.
Yeah. It's like, it's very, I would not, I'm just very happy this is not my reality right now. Can we just play Mario Kart for a while?
Yeah, it kind of feel like a commune.
Yeah, it was, and then there was like a large wall surrounding them. Like they were enclosed in some sort of space, and they had all these, like, it was like an automated smart car that they all had to get to. I mean, it seems like a very bizarre amusement park, like a Tinder amusement park.
Go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say that what they did with the wall, I thought was really well done, because it was never specifically a shot focusing on the wall. It was just sometimes you could see it, and you saw it was big, but you couldn't really see everything on it. So,
yeah, they made it a background item.
Yeah, you knew it was there, but you never focused on it, except I think there is one bit where someone mentions the wall before they get towards the end, when they talk about climbing it. And it is just kind of like, oh yeah, there's a wall. And then straight back into the story. So the first time you're watching it, it's not necessarily something that you're too worried about. But yeah, I feel like it would be interesting to see if they ever had a point where you could see a lot of the wall. Maybe it's a giant circle.
Yeah.
Or something, but yeah, you only ever see a little bit of it. So.
Well, and also when I was first like, okay, this isn't making sense, was when they would let them interact with people they had previously been matched with in real life. Like, if they were supposed to adhere to the system, why are you letting them interact with each other instead of staying with the people you're supposed to be with?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, like, it was at
that
the
seems
wedding.
like you're interfering. Yeah, exactly. Like, why are you going to let them run into each other again?
Well, I do think that would probably be part of it, because, if you're testing, and obviously we'll get to the end, this is a test to see whether or not they will get together in the end.
Yeah.
You make it so that it's as relatively realistic as possible. You are going to run into people that you have relationships with, unless you move to another country or something. But it's going to go that way anyway, so that's clearly built in, so that if they are feeling something for each other and they're in other relationships, but they're like, well, I'd rather go and be with this person, like, that's still there and possible.
Yeah, but you felt like it was almost like some sort of like weird dystopian like selection thing. Like, if the system decided you were not supposed to be with that person, how dare you interact with that person?
Yeah, and it seemed like it was. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, no, and I guess like the first time watching it, like maybe there are some stakes, like, oh my gosh, are there going to be consequences to them going back to somebody who they've already had an expiration date with?
Yeah, it's an interesting episode, because it has kind of two twists, as it were. One very quickly followed by the other, and I'm not sure we can get into this episode much more without just saying it. So obviously
people know. Yeah,
we're going to
spoil
that.
People.
We're going to spoil it.
Spoil the F out of it. Yep.
So obviously at the end you find out, once they decide to make the break for it, and everything in the world just stops. So they then go and climb the wall, and then they just have a number floating over their head, and there's many, many, many more of them with numbers around their heads, and it's like, oh, these guys are simulations.
They all become like pixelated.
Yeah, they what is it? The 98, or
They are. I think they.
What simulation were they? The 998 simulation. Yeah, simulation. Yeah, of that. Yeah.
And so.
But,
like all of them get digitized, and then it cuts to the real world, and you see also this is all simulation to see if these people would match, and obviously it shows them the final number. But the problem I had is the way that it seemed to have worked. I would argue that the simulations are pretty much bang on artificial intelligence at this point. Like they're fully realized people that are trying to get free, and it just turns out, no, you're just going to be digitized at the end and erased effectively.
Well, and that, again, that's the running theme of the season, is what constitutes a person. Like,
yeah. And like, what rights does that person, in quotes, have to their consciousness or, their agency, if there is one, you know?
Yeah, how much agency does code have, or, like, technology have? Like, I mean, we are so, like, at this point in time where, like, all we think of in terms of agency is, like, if they could make a full, like, android that looked like a human, like something from Westworld. But there's other ways to do that, and that's, like, making us think about that.
Yeah, like, going back to, like, the movie Her, like, you know, does that ScarJo have, you know, rights and feelings as an OS, you know?
Yeah. Well, and also, again, about this episode, if you love a montage, you will love this episode.
Oh, you always got to fade out in a montage. Yeah.
Because we get to see how they date other people.
Oh, my gosh. And we get to meet Nicola, who is the best at being the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what kind of system would make you stay with somebody who already started eating before you even got there?
So you're the type of person that makes jokes. Like, ooh, this is going to be a fun year. Yeah, a year. And her,
but I think that's part of the test, though. How, like, what type of person will stay with the worst person ever just because they're told to?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it kind of makes you see it. The first time you watch this, it really did make you kind of think of it and be like, well, maybe they had to go to, maybe they signed something that says, like, once you get in the system, like, that's it, you are in it until it's over, and then they'll get something at the end. They just haven't revealed it yet.
Absolutely. No. I thought it was like a Tinder, like, commune.
So are we feeling like, is the system mandatory or voluntary?
Well, they made it seem like it was, this is one of the Black Mirror's favorite things, like an irreversible agreement.
Yeah, once you sign on the dotted line, you're in it. Yeah.
It's like the mafia.
There's one way out, and you're not gonna like it. Yeah.
Now, also one thing I didn't even think of until just now. So the Amy and Frank that we see are, as far as we're concerned, the last Amy and Frank that make it to the top of the wall. But there have been 997 other rebellious Amy and Franks. Have they just been waiting up there the entire time, waiting for this one to pan out?
Yeah, I often wondered about the timeline of the simulations, and also I wondered about the other two Amy and Franks. I wanted to see that.
Oh, the two that did not rebel. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and does that entire simulation get digitized, or do they just, like, become background characters? Like, how does that work out in the thing?
I think that's why I didn't fall in love with this episode the way a lot of other people did, was because there were a lot of plot holes in this. Like, I know there's plot holes in Black Mirror in general, but this episode, I was like, okay, I have so many questions. Like, this isn't just like a San Junipero thing where you're like, you have, like, maybe a handful of questions about, was it really a happy ending? And I guess I came out of this not feeling like I had any answers or real answers or satisfaction or closure to it.
I understand that. I'm a little more forgiving with it. Like I said, thinking about it, I'd probably put it at my third favorite of the season. But I do kind of like the way the episode ended with them essentially meeting for the first time kind of brought shades of one of my favorite underdog movies, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, kind of same idea where, they're essentially rebooting this relationship. I don't know. I liked it. Didn't love it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it well enough.
Is it a rewatch for you, or you're good?
Yeah, it's a rewatch, but it's not in my top 5 of all Black Mirror episodes.
Gotcha.
Definitely not.
1 through 4 being hated in the nation. Got it.
Oh, come on, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yes, we do still need to get your review of Hated in the Nation there, Brian. Maybe we'll get it in at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Brian.
I'll get,
why don't you tell him about exactly how you felt about that when you finally watched it?
Utter garbage. The worst thing I ever...
Go fuck yourself.
It's the best episode of Black Mirror ever. I don't know if that got caught on mic, but I hope not. Okay.
I basically called episode of Black Mirror ever. So
okay, so we don't know what I thought about it. Okay, great.
Yeah,
the best.
Okay. Well, there's really only 2 ways that could go. So
it might involve me eating some crow. That's all. Yeah.
Okay.
Or some.
Touche. You stung me good there. All right. All right. So, are we ready to move on from Hang the DJ?
Well, I was just going to say that.
Any closing thoughts?
Obviously, we mentioned them at the beginning, but yeah, Joe Cole and Georgina Campbell. I think some of the best acting in this season for me came from those two.
Chemistry.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll get to, I think, a better pairing of acting here, but yeah, very, very good.
But the chemistry between these two.
Yes, the chemistry was
Black Mirror isn't necessarily a show known for their like romantic. Well, I mean, yeah, we have San Junipero, but yeah, they had such an easy and believable and fantastic. It made you want to see them be in other shows.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
and anyone that enjoys, was it Frank Cole? If you're a Peaky Blinders fan, he's John Shelby, and he's great in that too.
Yeah, good old Joe Cole there. I still need to get started on season 4 of Peaky Blinders. I know.
Same. Yeah, I've been putting it off. Joe Cole, like what I call him, Frank. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, any closing thoughts? Are we ready to go on to the episode that shall not be named?
Well, we're gonna kind of have to name it, actually. So.
I know. We'll say it once, but don't say it 3 times because we don't want that piece of shit to appear. All right, so
it's not a piece again, like I said last episode.
I wish it had the screen time of Beetlejuice. Okay.
So the worst episode of Black Mirror is still a decent episode.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's better than Shut Up and Dance, I guess. Or well, no, yeah, maybe not. Nope, Shut Up and Dance is better.
Oh, it is.
Is it? Okay, yeah. I was like back and forth on that. I'm like, yeah, Shut Up and Dance is awful. But, so anyway, this is Metalhead. This is essentially a gigantic metal stink bug. Who, yeah, I don't know if anyone saw it, but I looked at that and I'm like, yeah, this reminds me of something. And I'm like, oh, it's a stink bug. Yeah, but stink bugs are more fun. So that being said, this is a black and white episode. Kealeen, I think, what was this supposed to originally be? I thought
originally it was supposed to contain no dialogue.
No dialogue. That was it. Yeah.
Like not necessarily completely silent, but no dialogue.
So yeah, just Foley work. And,
as bad
music.
as like anybody who has a problem with this, it could have been so much. Like I mean, okay, it could have worked as a silent episode, but I don't. Again, it's like Crocodile. Like you got to give me more to go on.
Well, and I think that it would have been better if there'd been no dialogue whatsoever, and maybe you could see the characters kind of talking to each other, but you can't hear it. And then like you can hear the little dog robot creatures running around, and you can hear them running around, but you can't hear the dialogue at all. And then it's only when Golden Brown starts playing that you realize, oh, they're specifically not talking. Like, I feel like that would have been a better way to go with it, because then it's like, oh, this is what these guys are going through now. Like, they've taught each other to read lips so they can communicate. Like, I think that would have kind of set the world a little bit better. Obviously, you kind of understand what the world is like to a degree, but with them talking as much as they did at the beginning, I felt like they weren't that worried, even though they should have been. Like, it was a bit of a weird opening, I thought.
Yeah, well, basically, this is a post-apocalyptic story, and it's about a group of people on a mission to fulfill, they call it a promise they made to the main woman's, who's called Bella, his sister, and they're trying to, like, find a way to, like, get to a warehouse to break in and find an object that's supposed to, like, help
ease the pain of someone who's dying.
Like, which I assume is, like, her nephew, like, like, who's dying.
Yeah,
whose name's Jack.
Yeah, and it's, when they're talking at the beginning, it feels like they're talking about her sister's husband or something like that, because you never.
Oh, I thought it was a kid.
I didn't.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah,
I didn't fully.
Well, I thought it was her son at first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for some too. Yeah, I thought it was hers, but then it felt. Yeah,
no. I actually didn't end up hearing the ease the pain part. I just heard, like, I made a promise, and that someone called Jack is dying. Like, I didn't hear that what they were getting was specifically helping them.
Well, no, I heard about, like, pain and, like, dying, like, or something like that. Like, I just assumed it had something to do with medicine.
Yeah, and I think that's why some people, and obviously myself included, don't immediately think that it's for a child, because it's the pronoun game. It's like, Jack is dying, so we're looking for something to help. It's not my nephew dying. Right? It's kind of the opposite of the pronoun game, actually. It's you've got too many pronouns, and you need the actual qualifier to fully understand that it's clearly a kid.
But didn't okay, so basically these are, like, robot, like, Swiss Army terrorists.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
But after the dog kills, like, all of them except for her.
Yeah.
Didn't she run away? And and whenever it shoots these darts, like these, like
tracking.
They almost look like remember, like, they almost look like automatic, like, pencil lead. They put trackers into you.
Well, it seemed like it basically just this thing that explodes and shoots the shrapnel in, and every single piece of the shrapnel it can track. So, like,
yeah. So it just needs to get you with one. Yeah, but
also, like, once all of them were killed, and she ran off, and she cut the tracker out of herself, and she was on that, like, gorgeous, like, Scottish countryside or wherever they were, and the dog was, like, way far away. But she went on to that, like, her, CB radio, walkie-talkie, whatever, and said something, like, she's like, can I, if you don't hear me, whatever, I'm just recording this. The way she was talking about her message made me think that she wasn't trying to do something for an adult.
Yeah, and
it felt very motherly, or very.
But that's why I thought it was her kid.
Mm-hmm. I did too. Are we sure? Yeah, it's not.
Well,
no, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that she was leaving the message for her family and her children, but I assumed that, like, her child isn't Jack. I assumed that she just has a child as well.
Oh, that's
an alternative. Yeah, that's a
no, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they find out, and she and the dog, the quote unquote dog. But you're right, it's more like an insect than a dog.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, I saw this episode once, and I don't know. It was a nice premise, and then it fell apart.
Oh, absolutely. Like, so she climbs up in a tree and it's got one leg removed, so it can't climb the tree. She figures out that she can activate it, and cause it to die down because they're solar powered.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they only charge when they're fully powered down for a while or something.
Right.
And
so
yeah, she makes it continually power back up and then power back down. And it felt to me like she'd been told about this. So this is something that someone had used before to get away.
Yeah, it was like lore or like knowledge that was passed around. Yeah.
Yeah, so shouldn't this be something that they could use to defeat them? I mean, I want to know the humans behind this because obviously there's some human hand in what's going on right now.
Yeah, and I tried to think like where they would have come from, and the only thing I could think of that would kind of make sense, sort of. I mean, I know this is supposed to be kind of post-apocalyptic, but what would kind of make sense would be that these things were created probably for the army, so that they could kind of go out into the battlefield first and then tag people and kill as many people as possible before the actual soldiers get there. And then they probably were, they would have some kind of simulation that they would just sort of run when they weren't actually out in the field, and then, I don't know, maybe mass EMP goes out, knocks out all electricity, and they reset to kill everyone. Like, maybe that's where it leads to at this point. Like, I don't know. I did find myself making, when I went back to think about it and tried to justify, okay, where does this come from? This episode only, I think, can work if you don't try and think what happened before it started. Yeah. It is just take exactly what you see and no questions.
Yeah, take it at face value, because otherwise you're just going to be even less happy with the results, if that's possible.
But I think actually a linked possibility is the company that created the synthetic bees in Hated the Nation could have been also doing development on military weapons.
Yeah,
I mean, because we saw how that went. So.
Yeah, that's what kept distracting me too. I was trying to tie it into the Black Mirror universe, and I really felt no connection.
Yeah, well,
or it could. I mean, it could be like a white bear situation. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Who knows? Yeah, I don't know, but I don't really want to see any more of this world.
Well, but the thing is,
it's going to have a bigger payoff.
To she finds like a mansion or whatever, like this like nice house where somebody who had killed himself for whatever reason and trying to find car keys so she could get away and go to find whatever she needs. I thought that part of me wondered, I thought the house looked very similar to the house in The Entire History of You.
I'm trying to remember that one. Or the house that it is, but
well, it's just the architecture was very similar to me.
It did feel very much like that one.
I thought that would be a very interesting connection.
That's a good tie-in, yeah.
That would be the case, but and then we find out that these Swiss Army cockroaches can grab a knife and just. What did you guys think when you saw that he just grabbed grabbed the knife and I mean, it was hilarious and ridiculous.
Do you know what I thought? I was like, fuck off, was what I thought.
It was ridiculous. I was like, okay.
I was like, you know what I thought, actually? And Paul, Kealeen, I think you're a Futurama watcher, too. Is it Rodrigo, the, stabby robot?
Oh.
That's always wanting to knife everybody?
Roberto,
yeah. And he's
I gotta practice my stabbing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like,
Well, as soon as it did that,
not here for it.
As soon as it did that, I was like, okay, can we just fucking get this over with? It's not gonna have. And then the twist at the end is supposed to be that they were getting a teddy bear, a white bear, whatever.
Yeah.
But that doesn't
That's just that's your.
It's I want to know how this shit happened. Unless you're gonna explain it somehow next season, fuck off, Charlie Booker.
Yeah, and make it interesting enough that I'm waiting to feel that other shoe drop, or waiting to hear or see what the rest of this is. And I'm not pulled in enough into this particular part of the world to have this actualized.
And there was a gun right there. She was like, "Oh, they're coming for me." Oh, she got. That's right. She got hit again with all the trackers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so she cut her own throat. But then we find out that it's not just an isolated dog roach. It's there's tons of them everywhere. But the thing is, if there are tons of them everywhere, why didn't they track her before? Is it like one dog roach to one tracker?
I don't know. And then why is this reward worth the risk? I don't get that at all.
I mean, it's not as bad as Crocodile, but...
Oh, really? That's you think this is the second worst episode?
Well, no. Crocodile was horrible, but I'm angrier at Metalhead because for about the first 25 minutes, it made me feel like it was worth my time.
Mm. Yeah, and then just failed to deliver on every.
I mean, Crocodile presented itself as a piece of shit pretty early on.
You're like, this is what it is. This is a piece of shit. Stay for the ride or don't. Yeah. Yeah. So everyone feel good on Metalhead.
Yeah.
And by that I mean, yep.
Yeah. The only thing that I would mention, you said you weren't sure where it was filmed. It was filmed largely in Devon and around London is where they did most.
Oh, that's right.
And I mean, the amount of research that went into this, they actually used LiDAR scans to create the scenes that are shown from the dog's perspective, which is sort of like light detection, light imaging, that sort of stuff. Like they used an actual LiDAR scan to go for their point of view, which I thought looked really good, but it was like it was unfortunate that it was in this episode where it just didn't seem like there was enough there.
Exactly.
I appreciated what they were trying to do, and I enjoyed some of the shots and the idea, but it felt like if they were just able to kind of pepper in, I don't know, maybe like 5 more minutes with some extra dialogue, like a line here or there, that helped give either backstory or...
Exactly.
2 more minutes of world building, and that could have made the world of difference.
Well, and I know Black Mirror is not supposed to be about world building, but then make the story like more so compelling that we don't care.
Exactly.
And and speaking of Black Mirror, is not supposed to be about world building. How about we get into Black Museum?
Okay. I just want to say one last thing. If you want to see something great by David Slade, who directed Metalhead, watch Hard Candy. Okay, that's all.
I love it. No, it was beautifully directed and shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was
so no fault of, it is. But, okay.
No, Hard Candy is phenomenal.
Yes, it is.
I used to own that on DVD.
So did I.
Yeah, I was working. That was one of the first films I ever threaded. So yeah, that was. Yep. Alrighty. So we've had a couple of starters. Now on to the main.
Yes. Onto the main and dessert.
Yes.
Quite a lot to unpack in this one.
So yeah, I've been taking the charge here. Paul, why don't you intro this one here? What do we got coming up next?
Well, very basic sort of setting. You have a woman whose name you find out is Nish, who kind of turns up in the middle of nowhere, and there's this black museum. So she's like, well, I've got almost 4 hours until my car is finished charging, because solar power in this world is that far along. So I may as well go check it out. And it's run by this guy called Rollo Haynes, and inside is all manner of criminal artifacts, shall we say. And in this episode we find out about 3 different things that have occurred, and we get to see the story behind each one, and we will definitely be going into each and every one of those. But this episode, I would say, is kind of Black Mirror's love letter to Black Mirror, I think, because there's just so much in this that just felt perfect Black Mirror to me, on top of the fact that if you take the time to freeze frame, and there's even a line
Yeah.
that Rolo says.
I've got a whole list of shit. Yeah.
Oh, and I took photos of a lot of the freeze frames. Yeah.
And then there's even a line that Rolo says that says, if you take the time and look through this, there's so much and it's basically a line that says, "Hey, freeze frame, pause this right now and look at it." Because okay, so.
Well, can I say real quick? It was very interesting. Upon watching again, Nish. First of all, she goes up and looks at the AC unit, and
one thing that I will bring up as well that I noticed. I watched this 4 hours ago, so I noticed it again. But when she gets out of the car and she looks over the Black Museum, there's a beat, and she just goes, "Mm-hmm."
Yep.
That was really cool when upon watching on the second time. But yeah, so she goes up and she kind of walks around, and then she looks up at the sign, is what we think on first viewing. But as you said, definitely notices the AC.
Well, and we should mention that Nish is played by the phenomenal Letitia Wright, who played Shirley in Black Panther, T'Challa's sister, who's basically the tech guru in that movie, which is very appropriate considering what we're going to be talking about in this movie.
Absolutely.
This show. But and then when she went up to the doors and it had the hours of operation, and she pulled the door, it was locked. She seemed kind of annoyed. She started to walk away and then kind of turned around like she was going to wait. And then the doors opened and you could see her kind of gasp.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Well, and, okay, do we bring up the end now? I mean,
I think, people know, you need to have seen the episode. But so I was trying to watch it on subsequent viewings with, what was her plan? Was she playing this by ear? Or, how much did she know that she was going to do? Yeah. So, I don't know. Any thoughts on that? How well thought out her plan was?
She clearly, seriously thought this out. But I think what happened with the kind of looking shocked is she's finally put the face to the person that she's...
monster. This is the monster. Yeah.
It literally, knocked the wind out of her to see him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Only hearing these awful things, and now having a face to put with it.
Yeah, and I know I mentioned that I thoroughly enjoyed the Hang the DJ acting. In terms of, I think, the best acting in the series, I could watch Douglas Hodge just do this for
absolutely.
For ages. But he was such a great character,
and Letitia Wright gives it right back. It is blow for blow. It's beautiful to watch them interact.
Yeah, but that's why it annoys me that a lot of people did not for a lot of people this was their least favorite episode of the season.
Those people you don't need in your life, and just ignore.
I don't live in a bubble, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe you should. I'm sure there's a Black Mirror technology that will allow you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, right? It's called Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
But and from what we know afterwards, maybe it was her mother saying that's him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing. I was thinking that she was reacting to her mother reacting, but I do feel even if you planned this, if this had happened to you and you're I'm gonna get revenge, to see the person that you're planning on killing just walk out of the door, and that's probably the first time you've really seen him. I think that would hit you more than anything else. Oh, this is okay. I'm about to kill this man.
Well, and honestly, she was expecting to be able to open the door and go in and see him. She didn't expect him to come out and see, be the one to emerge. Yeah. But okay, so the first story.
Let's breeze past this one, shall we?
How do we feel about that?
I can tell you. I
hate this story. That's
my
how
wife felt about it. If you want to hear that,
no, I know. I want to hear how you felt about it.
Well, I was just saying this is the first episode of Black Mirror that my wife had seen any of because she didn't have any interest in it, and I was watching this for this episode, and she kind of turned to me during this part and just said, like, I don't understand why you like this sort of...
No, I don't blame her because this was like awful.
I had to tell her that this is not what Black Mirror is. Like,
no.
This is part of a Black Mirror episode, yes, but this isn't Black Mirror. But yes, she is not... I've also started watching Altered Carbon, and she is definitely not into that.
Oh, hey, how is that, by the way? I've been...
it's mixed reviews, but how are you liking that, Paul?
I am thoroughly enjoying it so far.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome,
really
okay.
Obviously, having recently just seen Blade Runner, it feels like it's got, that sort of route to it, but it's very much... It's almost kind of like Game of Thrones meets Blade Runner. Sort of, if I had to describe... if I had to very quickly come up with a description of the show, which I just did. So
yes, you did. Congratulations. Yeah.
But yes, I'm really enjoying it, so I would recommend.
Okay, because I'm like still just waiting for 3% to get like season 2 to come out.
Yes. I need more 3%. Yeah. So anyway, this first little story is based on a short story written by Paul
Penn Jillette.
Yeah.
Called The Pain Addict. He wrote this in like the 80s and had, from what I read and saw, like shopped it around for a long time with no takers.
Yeah. It's based on experiences that he had being ill in a Spanish hospital. And because he couldn't speak the language, he couldn't get a diagnosis. So his mind being his mind, he let it wander to this kind of place.
Well, I don't know. This could be like 50 Shades of 4.
Could be.
Apparently he did. As I say, he tried to shop it around, but no one would pick it up because it was too dark.
So this, I don't know how much we want to talk about it. Essentially, it's this doctor who Rollo is in neurotech and has this neural transmitter, whatever that will allow him to feel. Go ahead.
Anytime somebody, this guy has a very bad mortality rate as a doctor. Oh, and it's at San Juniper's hospital. Juniper's hospital.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of San Junipero Easter eggs in this, actually. Yeah.
But this guy has a high mortality rate as a doctor, and we're also talking about how people who can't afford health insurance, they submit to experimental treatments to get their health care paid for, and I'm like, don't give the GOP any ideas.
Yes.
But the thing is, so Rollo Haynes is this creepy consultant with the tech department, and comes to the doctor and said, "Oh, I can solve your problems." Anytime somebody says an irreversible implant, run.
Run.
And it also involves a hairnet.
Yeah.
Like
a light bright hairnet. It's a light,
Yeah, a light bright hairnet. Yes. So that way he's able to diagnose his patients by feeling their pain, which there are so many that doesn't make sense on so many levels.
Thank you. Yes, yeah. Go ahead, but I thought of that.
Everybody has such a pain threshold.
Mm-hmm.
There's cancer that's different depending on the person, or whatever.
Yeah, and how are you supposed to know what an abdominal pain is? What? Okay, I don't buy into you've experienced it so many times. You know what it is. No, pain can be generalized. That's why you need blood work and you need a physical examination. all, yeah.
Yeah, and then a senator gets rushed in and he can't figure it out, and then he dies with the senator.
Yeah.
So he experiences the death, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, how did he survive and Robert Daly didn't? I'm assuming Robert Daly didn't survive. Because I'm thinking, wouldn't that cause, a massive, stroke in your brain?
Yeah, if you're feeling everything, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously the get around is that he experiences all of the sensation, but none of the physiological stuff. So,
but then they said, but he kind of did.
Yeah, and I think obviously this is the point where you start going, okay, there's the one point where you really do need to really suspend the disbelief, and that I believe this is definitely it.
Well, but even Nish, back in the Black Museum says, okay, but she goes, he's having a great time. He's experiencing male and female orgasms. He's being a great doctor. There's got to be a but.
Yeah. So apparently Nish would be excellent at writing Black Mirror.
Yeah.
So you've always got to add the
yeah, where does this all fall apart? Yeah.
And then somehow it becomes whatever he went through with this death experience is attached to his pleasure center. And now he's obsessed with feeling pain. And he kills a patient in order to feel pleasure. And so they send him home.
I don't think he kills the patient, but I think he just makes sure that he is connected to a patient that dies.
That's what I mean. He waited long enough to make sure she died, so therefore he killed her.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, with you.
But then he goes home. Oh, and we see that there's a story on the TV where a local news anchor is missing.
Yeah, and that was something that when I was watching it the first time, I actually forgot about that by the time we got to the last story. So I was really happy to rewatch it and go, oh, that was very nicely done. That they just kind of threw that in there and didn't really pay too much attention to it, and then they obviously brought it straight back at the end. So,
well, apparently, even if you pause it, and zoom in, there's stuff decommissioning the Archangel project.
Oh yeah,
that links into past storylines. But yeah, and then we see that he breaks a glass. He gets so agitated, he breaks a glass.
Yeah.
Of bourbon or whatever. And he cuts his hand, and then he's like, oh.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
And then you see, okay, and I think this is the most gruesome scene from Black Mirror ever.
Oh, God. It's
that bathroom scene. That was something out of a Darren Aronofsky film.
Thank you. I got a strong stomach. I had to turn away. Nope, I'm good.
Well, they mentioned, Rollo mentions that since this guy was a doctor, he knew where to cut himself where it wouldn't be lethal. And I was so focused on him pulling out teeth that it wasn't until the second time I watched it, he cut off his damn toes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was when I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done.
I'm done.
This was the one bit that I didn't rewatch because I was like, I'm just going to skip this bit because, my wife is watching with me and she doesn't.
Yeah, it was disgusting. It was awful.
Uh-huh.
So obviously we know what this is going. He's like, oh, but there was no fear involved. So he hunted down a homeless man and took a drill to his head to kill him.
Yeah.
To get off, and they said he was coming when they arrested him. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yada yada yada.
And I added the part about the boner. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. The end.
I actually really liked that. Just
the boner part, that was funny. That was
because Nish looks at him like, what?
Yeah. All right, fine, you got me.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've read this, but I'm sending photos here. You did see the TCKR referenced in this part of the episode.
Oh no, he mentioned he works for TCKR.
Yeah, and then it's visual, but that's the for anyone not remembering, that is the company. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
okay,
and then after that, it cuts back to the present, while Nish offers Haynes some water, and
because he's so hot, he's like the damn conditioning.
And so, if you actually watch it, she does kind of look at him like fantastic acting from Nish, and therefore fantastic acting from Letitia playing Nish. But there is one bit, I don't know if you noticed, you probably did. After he's had some of that, and then he starts to talk about the next bit, but he is kind of like, well, I don't know how long you've got. And she said, well, I've got to wait for my car to recharge. And that's when she stares at her watch. So she knows exactly what time it was.
Yeah, I noticed that the next, my second viewing, I noticed that.
And you know what? There's, in the third story, there's something else I need to bring up, too.
The second story is where, and obviously this is for people that for some reason are listening to this but haven't seen the episode. But yes, the second story is a man named Jack and a woman named Carrie get together and have themselves a little baby, and then Carrie is hit by possibly the worst computer effect in the series of that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say worst driver. Why are you going that fast on a path that you don't see? Go ahead. Yeah.
I think it was the pizza van.
Yeah. It was 30 minutes or less. They had to get to somewhere.
It was pizza van.
It really
avoid the Noid.
It really did feel kind of like almost a scary movie-esque. Like, oh no, she got hit by the van and then she just vanishes. She's gone off the side of the screen. It was like, oh, that. The second time I watched that, because I knew something was coming the first time I watched it, and then she got hit. I was like, oh, and I was actually enjoying the story. But this time I was watching it to see all these things. And I saw the van hit. I was like, that feels like they needed an extra few hours of render to get that to look better.
It was like when Regina George got mowed down by the school bus in Mean Girls.
Yes.
I'm
going to assume that is a very apt.
It is. You may assume that. Yes.
Yeah, but also I didn't entirely feel sorry for her, because it's like, look both ways before you take a fucking picture with your phone.
Yeah, before you back out into a street. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she, what are we kind of in agreement that she's sort of the worst? I don't know. She's not the greatest redeemable character.
It seemed to me, it was kind of weird, because do they wear wedding rings or anything like that?
I was thinking about that. I couldn't decide if they, not that it matters, but I couldn't decide if they were married or partners.
I felt like it was more of a partner situation.
So it feels like they are obviously together, and I don't know how much of it was that she got pregnant and they were like, no, we'll stay together. Like, obviously they care for each other very much, and then they have the child. But there was like, I sort of feel like if this had been people that have been in a relationship for like 5 years, like this wouldn't have worked this way. Like, I feel like it would have. I mean,
I think it would have been worse.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, none of us are ever going to know, because this isn't going to happen. I don't think anyone would want
and I think it's like specific to each relationship, but like I didn't want to be like promoting the like nagging bitch, but God, they did a good job of it.
They did, although I will say that I do feel like Jack kind of took her being critical or anything like that, and he kind of went from 0 to 60 in his response to it. Like, I mean, maybe there were many times it happened that we didn't see, and that was like they cut to his breaking point.
Well, I thought they mentioned that she had been in a coma for like over a year.
Yeah, because she was so surprised at how big Parker had gotten by the So it was a substantial amount of time.
Yeah, but
right.
It was quite a long amount of time. But it was like she get put in his head, and obviously everything seemed to be okay. But it's like when they reach a point where she starts sort of doing the nagging, you can tell that almost from the second she starts nagging, his response is just, "Well, fuck you." It's like, wow, where did that come from? It's like,
because
did they never
she's like,
nag each other before?
Things she's nagging about are like his personality and his biology. Like, I never thought I'd be in this position to defend this, but like this is why I feel like this procedure should require extensive, like, modified couples counseling, because she expects to have her own agency, as well she should, but it's still his body and his biology. Like, he can't change all of his, like, instincts and mannerisms, like, and his, like, she has access to his subconscious, his biological subconscious, and like, that's really screwed up and unfair. Like, I'm not saying she's wrong, I'm just saying, like, again, bad idea, Jeans.
Yeah, like, no matter how close you feel with someone, or how how much you confide in them or trust, like, you need, what this little part kind of talks about is the privacy issue. Like, you need your own time alone.
Well, also, she even criticized the way he read.
Yeah, reading too slow. Yeah, never get used to how he pee. Or like, at least we just saw the peeing part, not the.
Well, that's probably universal. The other one.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. But yeah, no privacy for him, no agency for her. It was like a direct line from Rollo.
Yeah.
Well, and she's basically in the sunken place, but she's dressed like she's in a North Korean prison.
Well, I mean, I obviously had, and Jim is perfectly intentional, like, flashback to White Christmas. Because
absolutely.
It's exactly that space. It's just, obviously, since it's a prototype, it's just a chair.
Yeah.
And the thing I found interesting is you never see anyone outside of that chair in this.
Well, and also, like, she can move from the waist up, but she can't walk around.
Yeah.
It's like, can you modify the code to let them walk around? That would solve so many problems.
Absolutely, yeah. Give them a little bit of sense that they have a slight bit of control over. Yeah.
Although I will say, and do you think Rollo gets off on the fact that he only gives them so much until they reach their breaking point? They come back to him, and then he goes, "Oh, well, I can give you this."
Yeah, let me tell you about the premium package. Let me tell you about the platinum package. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you could have told me about this before I signed on the dotted line. Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely seemed like he was almost toying with everyone in all of his experiments. Because he did the first one with the doctor, and he's just like, I can't just pull everyone off to figure out how to turn this off, Like, just go home. It's like, I think he knew what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think he wanted to be famous that way, sort of. And so, in this respect, I think it's the same. Like, he's like, this could be interesting. Why don't we try this? And when he decides that he's going to tell them to put Carrie into monkey.
He's very... Go ahead. Yeah, sorry, Paul.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, once he decides to put her into a monkey, he's just like, hey, this should be cool. And obviously the fantastic way that he uses the same line of, she done her thinking, how about you?
Yeah, the pressure to...
He's very good at telling people what they want to hear, or knowing their weaknesses.
Or pressuring.
Yeah.
Like, I will say, Jack seemed to be like he was pressured into all these decisions, and Rolo made it seem like the women in his life were pressuring him to do this. Like, whereas, like, he could have taken a step back. Like, I don't know. Like, one problem I did have with this segment was it painted the women in this situation as always being the villains.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they want this. They, like, don't care how, I want it now. Like, of course his wife, like, understandably, is going to want a different option than being comatose. Of course, the woman who he has a relationship with is going to, like, push for something that's going to actually allow their relationship to thrive. But the thing is, like, she got into this relationship knowing that there was a really messed up situation with his ex-wife or ex-partner.
Exactly. Yeah. And could anyone else, like, every time I've watched this episode, I think it's 4 times now, I cannot take the scene seriously. I know we're jumping ahead, but when she holds the monkey up against the door frame, like the wall, and gets in its face, I'm like, that's some acting there.
Well, okay. Yeah, but the thing is, they did a really good job at making Carrie look like an asshole, because I was actually kind of like, yeah, you tell her she needs to let her husband go. And then I look back on it and I'm like, oh god, I'm a monster.
And the thing I found just kind of stupid about that the second time watching it is she literally goes around the corner and then just she's not yelling, but she does raise her voice a little bit at the monkey. There's no way they don't hear her.
Oh yeah,
like, they're hearing everything that's going on there, which would really mess the kid up.
Oh yeah, and when she's getting it on with Jack about how, like, she just throws it out, like, in the hallway. Like, come on.
Well, no, it's because it's Parker's running up the stairs and just kind of drops her on the floor, and she shuts the door, which I'm fairly certain has glass in it. So that's not actually going to do it.
Yeah, that's like evil.
Yeah.
So I did have a question here, because I know Parker's obviously very young, probably 5, 6.
Kind of looks like, yeah.
5, yeah. But how much do we think that we weren't shown? Does Jack tell him about the situation?
Like, well, I don't think he knew. I don't think he knew how bad it was. Like, I think he explained it in the beginning. But when she got placed into that monkey, which, by the way, she was placed in a monkey that looked like it had been heavily used for about 5 years.
Yeah, it was like been on a Goodwill shelf for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the feeling that it seemed like when he was explaining what the monkey was, it was as if Carrie was still in his head, but she could feel through the monkey. Like, that kind of felt like what he was saying was going to happen, because at no point does he say she's in there. He just says, she can communicate with you through it. If you hug this, she'll feel it. But I no explanation as to what else has changed. So I don't think there's any point where he does actually explain to Parker that she's in the monkey.
Or to Carrie.
Yeah, but I mean, there's scenes where he's arguing in his own head while Parker's witnessing, and later where he says, "Mommy loves you," as a direct, line reading from Carrie.
Yeah.
So I just wonder how much Parker understood.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be one of those things that obviously we'll never get the full thing because they're not going to go back to this story. But I feel like it's something that they probably decided not to go further into, if not because of the length of the episode, but just because they probably wouldn't have really added much.
Yeah.
And it might have broken up the pacing a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, this episode, obviously we've just talked about the first 2 stories here, and it feels like there's a lot in it, and there is, but I think the pacing of this episode is fantastic.
Absolutely.
So, obviously, it ends the episode where you find out, or ends that part where you find out that the monkey that you're looking at in the Black Museum is Carrie. So I thought that was interesting.
And terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
And yes.
And Rolo's just like, oh, yeah, still, well, because he said because of laws that the UN made, he wasn't allowed to delete her consciousness. I didn't think the UN had that kind of power.
Agreed.
I mean, they can heavily suggest and punish people for not following human rights laws, but I feel like this would be a big deal.
They probably did, again, kind of devil's advocating here. It would probably made something akin to a war crime, so it's heavily illegal type thing.
Yeah, but also I feel like there would have been more of a debate about it, because it would be is it more cruel to allow them to still exist?
Well, and the one thing I never understood about this episode is you can put the consciousness into this thing. Surely you can take it out.
Exactly.
Move it into something that has 5 or more ways of expressing itself.
Put her into a Sims game or something.
Or put her into San Junipero.
I thought about that too. I thought about maybe she'll take her and try to get her extracted to San Junipero.
Yeah, her and her mom. Yeah. But, no.
Yeah, that bothered me too. I was really bothered.
And so we get to Rolo's main attraction.
Oh yes, behind the curtain.
And he says, warning, he's not the man he used to be.
Yes, definitely not. So this is Clayton. And even though I watched this a little while ago, is it just Lee? Is that lucky?
Clayton Lee, yeah.
Clayton Lee, yeah. So he is / was a convicted murderer
of the newscaster.
Yes, and it's one of these things where I feel like they wanted to put together a little bit more, maybe in another episode, especially since they're talking about how there was DNA tampering and stuff like that. So it's clearly you built up a real backstory to this, and you just don't have this in there, but it's you've got more written down in a notebook that you're willing to show us. So
I actually felt like that wasn't a big issue, because I feel like this storyline was created in the era of things like Making a Murderer. And those 3 guys in that documentary who had been in jail for 10 years and were convicted or released after DNA evidence. I feel like with all these true crime documentaries we've had, either exonerating or casting doubt on crimes that have happened, maybe this was a reference to that.
Oh, probably. And I do know that Charlie Brooker, when he made this series, he was well aware of what could happen going forward, and he didn't want to create something that was entirely pessimistic or doom and gloom, and he wanted there to be some kind of hope in this series. So I think having this person's backstory be well, he possibly didn't do it, and that's kind of dangling the carrot there.
Well, I really feel like he didn't do it.
I feel like it too. Yeah, I feel like it was an indictment on the criminal justice system.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, because think about it. Okay, so Rolo Haynes got kicked out of his experimental tech treatment because of what he did with Carrie and the monkey.
Mm-hmm.
So he decided he would open up this crime museum, and he wanted to do a Madame Tussauds. He wanted to do consciousness, take consciousnesses of celebrities. By the way, who do you think would do that?
Who would say yes?
Yeah,
all of the celebrities that you don't want to see.
After they die, you could take them and put them in a museum, like a living Madame Tussauds.
Who would sign up for it?
Yeah.
Oh.
He said the reason I didn't is because red tape, attorneys, nobody wanted to agree, blah, blah, blah. I immediately thought of Lindsay Lohan and Nicolas Cage.
Nick Cage, 1,000%. Also, yes, Lindsay Lohan. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
You guys have
my God.
ideas?
Oh my God! I wish you had like prepped me with that because I need time to. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It's a podcast. Like,
sorry. Yep, I know.
How about the Kardashians?
The Kardashians.
Honestly,
feel like at least two of them would.
I feel like they would. They're oddly like religious. They actually do go to church, and I feel like they wouldn't go there. I think OJ would.
OJ. Oh God, yeah.
Are we saying that it would just be his hologram standing there, just being like, I didn't do it.
But if I did, this is how I do it.
Yeah.
Exactly how I did it.
He would walk you through about how he didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you remember me in Naked Gun? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That would actually just be it. He would just be in his get up from Naked Gun, just constantly doing that. Like, have you forgotten everything else yet? Okay, Naked Gun.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, he figured out he couldn't do celebrities, so he was like, "Oh, I can do people on death row."
And then he only does one.
Well, but he went to, this is why I don't think Clayton did it. He went to see him in prison, and he's like, and Clayton goes, "I hear you're from a tech company. Are you going to like analyze the DNA to help me like clear my name?" And he goes, "Well, I could, but that's not why I'm here." Yeah. And that's what's so sick. He said, "I could, but that's not why I'm."
And also, what led me to what I believe is his innocence was how Nisha's performance when she is just adamant. Like, what there were questions about, the DNA. There were questions about this. What about this? And, like, she wholeheartedly felt that he was innocent.
Well, and also, like, he had no interest in talking to anybody unless they could help him clear his name.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then he said, "Well, I can help provide for your family." And he goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, sign over your consciousness to me, and I'll provide for your family." And he goes, "Well, I'm still trying to get an appeal." He goes, "Well, if you get your appeal goes through, then no problem. But if the worst happens, and I hope it doesn't, you'll have enough money. Like, you'll get he said you'll get the lion's share of the profits."
Yeah, I was waiting for a line from Nish that I wish was in there about when she finally reveals who she is, of like kind of leaning into him and just being like, "And what happened to all that money?" Because I feel like he would never have actually given the money away.
Oh no, I actually have a theory about that.
Oh,
I think the money he gave to the family allowed Nish the education to learn the technology to enact her revenge.
I love that.
He funded his own demise. I like it.
Yes.
Yes. That is the perfect comeuppance.
Yeah.
I believe he actually gave them the money. I just think it came back to him in the best, worst way.
Yeah, I really like that. Him as a person, I can see him not giving any money away and then being like, "Well, I didn't really make a profit, so you're not getting any money. I said you get some of the profits." But
well, I think she got a lot of money until she started hearing about what's going on.
Yeah.
And then went to see it for herself.
Yeah, and then how long ago do you think that was? Because I trying to think about this, because obviously she ended up putting her mother in her own head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's like, how long have they been planning this?
I think he died probably about anywhere from 4 to 8 years earlier.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously well planned because it's on Clayton's birthday.
Yeah.
that she shows up. So obviously, yeah, it's been very well planned. But yeah, I feel like it's been years in the making.
Well, and I also wonder if Nish's mother left any kind of instructions to, like, if I die, you have permission to upload me into your head.
But she probably put the thing on her head before taking the pills.
Or, like, as she was dying. Like, maybe Nish got it and attached it. Because obviously Nish was brilliant, technically.
Yeah, well, I feel like the mother put the thing on her own head, like, fully planning this out. Because, obviously, she didn't want to live like that, but she was planning on Nish finding
I go back and forth on that.
Yeah, because it's very clear that Nish walked in to see her having already taken the pills.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm still not sure exactly how it went from that to Mum in the head.
Right.
Yeah. So
basically, we find out that Clayton, who is basically, what's disgusting is that you can make a hologram, like, consciousness of a person into, like, you can inflict brain damage on them.
Yeah, I mean, he is effectively the end of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, well,
without giving too much away.
Well, but the thing is, I was surprised by that because, I don't know, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. But we find out that, the thing that surprised me was, with all this technology, they're still using the electric chair.
That struck me very deeply. Yeah, like, as so archaic and, just did not feel right at all.
Yeah. And the weirdest thing I thought as well was that Clayton gets electrocuted with the thing still on his head. Like, wouldn't you have taken that off before the risk of being destroyed by the electricity?
Yeah, and the thing, also the, basically the carbon copy, well, not carbon copy, but, like, carbon copy, because humans are carbon, like, that you can copy somebody's consciousness in a moment of agony. Like, it feels like there's a whole other universe to be explored with that. That you can make a keychain of somebody and they're actually reliving their, like, point of agony forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
I was a little iffy on that myself, but...
Yeah, it's kind of really difficult because the question is, like, because he says to this person, like, it is their consciousness stuck in this one moment forever. So the question then becomes, like, well, is it a truly sentient, like, entity, or is it literally a snapshot of one moment printed on this thing? Like, he makes it seem like it is actually the consciousness, but I feel like he would tell anyone that would turn up for, like, an inspection that is like, well, no, this is a copy. This isn't actually a person.
Right.
So I don't know how much you're supposed to take as him being like, look, this is cool to a new customer, or is he actually telling the truth there? I mean, I don't have any reason to feel like he's lying at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, he has this med tech knowledge, and also we know he has no moral compass, so I'm thinking he may have hacked together something. Maybe that was what's, that's what caused the protests, was the keychains.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, it was, and this episode had so many interesting questions that it throws up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and again, it's one of the things that I really like about Black Mirror is it really makes you look at, like, humanity, where it's at, where it could go, and what should it do or what shouldn't it do. Because I can see if this technology existed, I guarantee you this museum would exist. At least one.
Oh, absolutely.
If not several around the world. Cause...
Oh, the alt-right hold fundraisers there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you'd pay a bit more money and you'd get maybe 11 seconds at the Switch rather than 10.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, he was almost like, when he described how people were able, even before, like, he allowed people to pull the switch for extra time. The way he described allowing people to electrocute Clayton, Rollo was so like nasty and passionate. He was almost like trembling with passion. And it made me wonder, like, why was he like so like passionately hateful toward this man?
Yeah,
I mean, it's. I hate to go there. I mean, there's an obvious answer, and I don't know if that's
no.
The
I don't
case
think it
or
was.
not.
I don't think it's racism. I just think it's like he had a weird fixation on wanting to punish this man.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like originally when he got the guy's consent, he didn't care if he was innocent or not. But I feel like as the time went on and as the protest started, he realized that the guy was actually innocent, and he's now stuck with the man that's probably innocent and trying to get people to pay to come and do this to him, and so that I think he starts to resent
him. Yes, it's like a weird kind of resentment.
Yeah. Or did he have a connection deeper than that? I don't know.
I feel like it's weird that, like, I almost wondered that they were going to try to implicate that doctor in the murder. Obviously not, but I agree. Like, there's some kind of weird resentment that he's stuck with him. And obviously Rollo Haynes is an incredible, like, narcissist or borderline personality type.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, very much so.
But I would like to see. So we, she poisons him. Like, why would you take a stranger's water bottle and chug it? My God.
Because he
depends on the situation, but
yeah,
but it's his own like facility. He could go find a water bottle.
Well, I feel like he's just so sure, like, because he inspected the bag.
It's the ego.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, why would anyone come and do something to him? Like, I think that's...
I'm untouchable. Yeah. It's his ego.
And he's not expecting the daughter of the man that he's been electrocuting for years to turn up. So, yeah, I think it really is just complete ignorance of what's going on and what could happen. Just
kind of like a Robert Daly in the Wormhole.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I would like an epilogue of this. I know she drives off with a keychain of Rollo Haynes being electrocuted, and with her mom in her head. I would like an epilogue where she deposits her mother in San Junipero and then goes on like kind of a more peaceful version of Kill Bill, where she finds anybody who has a keychain of her father and makes sure she destroys them.
Yes. Yep.
So it's like
I'm
a Kill Bill.
I'm here for it.
It's like a Kill Bill, but she only kills keychains.
and everyone is actually like, oh, sure, okay. Like, no one actually is annoyed by it. It's just like, oh, okay, I didn't care.
I did want to bring this up earlier. What do we think the arrangement she and her mother have? Because when Rollo was kind of talking about that second story with Jack and Carrie, he's like, it's enough to make you, and she finishes the sentence, go mental. I believe she does, at least. So what is the arrangement that she and her mom have? Like, does she have her on pause a lot?
Probably, and I think she also has an arrangement with her mother that once she's found closure for her father, like, she will let her go somehow. Mm-hmm. Or send her to San
This isn't a long-term scenario.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I also feel like she would have her on pause for most of the time, because the mum would just be like, look, I don't need to see all this stuff. Just like turn it back on when we're planning this. So like, we're good.
Yeah, exactly. It's only so much a mother needs to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Bring it back to Archangel. I think there's
exactly.
It all comes full circle.
Yes, and
all right.
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Any other Easter eggs we wanted to talk about, or I know there's this whole season is pretty much alluded to in this episode, but
I mean, I would just recommend anybody, there's so many, it would take us another half hour to go through them, but if you have any interest of it, either hit me up on Twitter or Google Black Mirror season 4 Easter eggs, because there are a ton and they're really fun. So.
Yeah. Now, there is one. I did want to ask you, Kealeen, because I searched and I painstakingly went over this episode last night for all of these Easter eggs, and the one I could not find was Yorkie and Kelly's dresses are supposedly in this episode. Did you see them?
No, I think I had heard about that, but I had not seen them.
Okay, I really tried to find them, and I could not find them. So if anyone has a screenshot out there, I would love to see it.
I will say also, there's the bunk beds in the background that are very prominently displayed, and they don't line up to any episode that I can think of.
Really?
So I'm kind of wondering, are they going to be in next season?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Maybe.
You saw the bunk beds with some weird looking mannequins.
Oh yeah.
and then I just sent a picture.
Of
Any idea who is that hanging behind Nish?
Yes, that is from the first episode of Black Mirror. That's from the national anthem. It's recreating the suicide of the guy who orchestrated.
Oh God! Why didn't I not realize that? Oh, you're an idiot, Brian. Okay. Yep.
And then of course you've got
the
who
is that? Yeah, the bathtub from Crocodile.
Yeah. Well, and
there's
also
a lot of good stuff,
seeing the lollipop in the DNA code scanner from USS Callister. That's why I had all the questions of why did they know to put the lollipop in there? They must have found out what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I assumed that information got out somehow.
Yeah.
And then it was well, this guy was gonna, oh yeah, I'll just get that. I also assumed that he managed to get a lot of this stuff out of police evidence somehow, because how does some of this stuff just get out there?
Well, but Nanette had the lollipop.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
So she took that. It doesn't have to be the lollipop, though, I suppose.
Yeah, well, but maybe they called her to tell her why and what it was after they got out.
Possibly.
Maybe that after they got online, they called her up to say, this is what happened.
Yeah, that was... I think I mentioned it in the episode. That was the one thing that I was wondering from that episode, was just surely since they're online, eventually someone will run
the
into
cops
them.
are gonna
I know you.
Yeah. Or the cops are gonna seek them out to figure out what happened.
Yeah. But that is one thing with Black Mirror. It will always leave you with a few more questions than you had coming in,
which I think is kind of the point. Yeah.
I really do enjoy that. I like a show that doesn't feel the need to have everything in a tiny little bow at the end of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it breeds these conversations and it makes things, I think, more interesting on the whole.
And the ones that are bearable to rewatch, it makes their rewatching more satisfying.
Exactly. I did want to kind of gauge everyone's overall review of this season. How do you think it kind of stacks up to previous seasons? Anything along those lines?
Okay. Well, I personally think that this season is probably it's kind of difficult, because my favorite episode of Black Mirror period is actually White Christmas, which is a Christmas special. So
yeah.
it's
but that's technically part of season 2, yeah? Is that right? or is that
I don't
early
think
season
so,
3?
No, it actually is.
No, it's season 2.
It's a special.
Yeah, but it's considered part of
it. Was released as part of season 2
in the U.S.
because it's 1, 2, 3, and then episode 4. Yeah,
What?
2013 is
It's
the first 3
considered part of
episodes.
season 2.
Oh, that's interesting because in the UK it was a Christmas special. It's not.
And,
yeah. But
that's
they
before,
normally like here they normally just lump them on.
But that's before Netflix bought the rights from from UK or from the channel that was originally broadcasting it. Right? Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that season 4 for me is probably on par with season 2 personally because I enjoyed every episode in season 2 and I enjoyed most of all the episodes of season 4 because I feel that way. So I feel that season 4 was better overall than season 3 was. So,
oh wow, okay.
Like just because I loved Hated in the Nation, San Junipero, Nosedive was fantastic, and Playtest was fairly good. But Men Against Fire, I didn't like that episode when I watched that. And Shut Up and Dance, I really, really liked the idea, but I thought it was kind of slow, wasn't that great.
You're giving me a stomach ache talking about that episode. Okay.
That's kind of where I stand on this. So, and even I enjoyed Metalhead probably more than you guys did. Crocodile, I have huge issue with the ending, but as an overall episode, I didn't mind it too much, and I really liked all the others. So, I think for me, season 4 and season 2 are fairly equal standing, and then, as I said, White Christmas is my favorite. So,
okay, all right.
What do you guys think then?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I feel very strongly that season 3 has been the best season so far. It has the 2 best episodes of Black Mirror are in that season. Very let you be the judge of that. But if you listen to these podcasts, you can figure it out. Not Playtest and not Shut Up and Dance. But I mean, if we're looking at a whole there, I think it's a really strong, cohesive season. Season 3 is. Season 4 really seemed like it was full of peaks and valleys. A lot of hits and misses for me.
Okay.
So, the episodes I really, really like in season 4, I do. And then I feel very strongly about the episodes I don't like in season 4. But season 3, there's not a lot other than mostly Shut Up and Dance that I wouldn't rewatch. I don't know where to go from there, but I just feel like season 3 is the season to top. They came really close at moments here, and I don't even know if that's a goal, but I'm being unfair there. But I'm really interested to see what next season brings. I think Kealeen, maybe you said something along those lines. Even a bad or average episode of Black Mirror is still a great episode of television. I'm on board for wherever this goes. But Kealeen?
I have to say, I initially thought this season was kind of okay, but then I revisited season 3, and I have to be honest. There are 2 episodes I would swap out between season 3 and season 4. I'm more likely to rewatch season 4 than I am season 3, and that surprised me. Really? There are the 2 episodes I will always rewatch in season 3, and I'll go ahead and say it. San Junipero and Hated in the Nation, I will always be up for a rewatch, but as a whole, I'm more likely to rewatch episodes of season 4 than season 3. And I basically from season 1 and 2, I have 2 episodes from season 1 and 2 episodes from season 2 that I will always still rewatch. So I upon reflection, this is a really solid season that is like consistently, like you can go back and rewatch it.
Yeah.
So and I'm excited to see what they're going to do with season 5, especially now that we have the confirmed shared universe.
Did we talk about the song at all?
We mentioned it a bit. That anyone who knows what love is. I mean, it's the common thread
there. Yeah. Any idea what that's leading to?
I almost don't want to make predictions about it.
You just want to kind of be surprised and go along.
I hope that it has something to do, like that's going to pay off in an episode. That's what I'll say.
It's got to have a bigger purpose. Yeah, although it would not be in the.
That's what I'm not going to try to analyze it. I just hope that it's to have a payoff.
Exactly, and I hope it's justifiable. Yeah, and worthwhile.
Yeah, well, obviously we'll come back and talk about it when it comes.
All right, well, we'll talk to you next year.
Absolutely, and thank you so much, guys, for having me back. This has been a pleasure.
Yes, we will. I'm not looking into the crystal ball too much, but there might be some Westworld podcasting coming up in the future. So,
if we ever get a release date,
yes, I have watched the trailer ad nauseum. But
that doesn't look like anything to me.
Doesn't look like anything to me. No. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, never mind.
All right. I think we've occupied the good people's time enough here. Any closing thoughts? Anybody?
No, I think we should let the people go at this point.
I think so, yes.
I think
agree.
we should let the people decide for themselves.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right.
You know what? Celebrate your free will while you can before our robot overlords take over.
Before we get shot up with trackers and have to kill ourselves. Yes, absolutely. Okay, I end on that.
Yes, I for one welcome our new insect overlords. All right.
Yes.
So with all of that being said, I've been Paul.
I've been Brian.
And I've been Kealeen once again, and I thank you, Blockbusters, so much for having me.
Absolutely.
No problem.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye, folks.
Bye-bye.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.